It's a rainy pre-release weekend. I am here at Level Up. I'm actually still in my car, just drove over here. It is miserable out, but I am super excited because it's pre-release for Outsiders. We're going to try and get our first experience with the cards today. I have 3 pre-releases lined up for the weekend. Honestly, can't wait to get going on this. Just about an hour. So excited. I'll try and give my first impressions here shortly, but God, it's exciting. It's a long time in the making, and yeah, any minute now. All right, it's the day after the first pre-release for me. It was at Level Up in Atlanta, Georgia. Lovely event at a fantastic store, one of the best stores in Georgia, honestly. I had a very good time. I did absolutely horribly at it. I lost. To be fair, I didn't have a fantastic pull. Nothing in the pull that I got was really standout yet, as far as I could tell. It's possible that I'm missing something, but nothing really rose to the level of a star player. This is the Ranger and Assassin layout for what I got. I got cards for Ninja, obviously, but the Ninja deck was really not leaning towards either Benji or Katsu. I didn't have enough of the pieces for any of the combo lines. I didn't have a lot of low hit cost things for Benji. It was just going to be a mess either way. So we ruled out Ninja immediately. Moved on to evaluating Assassin and Ranger. Now for Ranger, you can see that I have a lot of arrows here. This whole stack is arrows. It's 15 arrows in total. That is a lot. And while that seems like that would be awesome for Ranger, who really needs those arrows to be attacking, the problem is 15 arrows is half your deck. And I had nothing to do with the arrows. So very few things that were going to buff any of my arrows, right? I had a single Lace with Blood Rot and Lace with Frailty. I had a Virulent Touch and then 2 toxicities that I can add in some things, but it's a yellow and a blue toxicity. And toxicity has a problem in that it doesn't make the card any harder to block against. It just makes it that they have to block it. I was finding that people were they were blocking a fair amount of things. So putting a blue toxicity on a yellow Widowmaker is not exactly gonna win because they only have to block 3. You know, you might think that, okay, well, I have that Widowmaker and it's presenting 3, 6, 9 points of damage if it hits. But all they have to do to block that is 1 3-block card, and it's done. There's not a lot in this particular Ranger set that would force through damage. You could put Dominate on some things, but with a lot of yellows and blues, those breakpoints are not going to be advantageous to you. I had some really good reds, but there's only a handful of them. My last game of the day, I switched over to Azalea just to confirm that I was not wrong in this, and lo and behold, I got blown out. I also only had the 1 trap. Now granted, it's Collapsing Trap, which is amazing, but with only 1, I didn't think I had enough to really go with Riptide either. I kind of wanted a few more of those. With that said, we decided to go out of Ranger, pull these off, and focus instead on Assassin. So for Assassin, we can use these toxicities and the Virulent Touch, which I gotta say, Virulent Touch, it might just be how I was trying to use it, but last night, it didn't feel good when I got it in hand. More often than not, I used it to pay for something. It just felt like having to get it through Arsenal was tough. But we'll see. That may change today when I go to the next one, so we'll see how that goes. For Assassin, I had a decent spread, I thought. These are not like I said, I didn't have anything that was crazy good, but all of these are zero cost stealth cards. That felt like a great foundation for Arachne. I was correct about that. It worked very well in Arachne. I felt like I was competitive and close almost every game. I just was like a few pieces short. And I think if you look here, you'll see I don't have any great like cards that are going to come in at the end of the chain and blow something out of the water. I'm not surprised that I didn't do fantastic. This pattern for Arachne Solitary Confinement, where we are playing, sorry, I was looking for the Spider's Bite. We're playing off of a Spider's Bite into a stealth card, activating Arachne's go again off of the first stealth card, and then moving into something else was fantastic. You could do a lot of damage with a single blue card or even a yellow to just get the Spider's Bite, and then a stealth or two stealths. That actually worked pretty well as a play pattern. I had a couple of good one-cost pieces that went in. I got a couple of these Hurl cards, which I thought I would not use, because I didn't get the one to replace the dagger. In actuality, I ended up using Hurl in 2 of my games, because I didn't often have the resources to do both Spider Bites. The Hurl was a decent way to sneak in another Spider's Bite hit, usually towards the end of the game. The game I didn't use it in, the third one that I played with Arachne that I did not use the Hurl in, it didn't get used because I was up against a ranger who had Melting Point, and they had already destroyed my second dagger, so there was no point in that. Short and Sharp felt fine. It mostly went to be paid for stuff. Bleed Out did get played once. Felt okay. Plunge felt pretty good. 1 cost, 3 attack. Gave a bonus to the next dagger attack. That was decent. This was a good foundation. I really needed something else to kind of spike the damage a little bit. I think if I'd have had one more good card in here that was really going to help push some damage, I'd have probably taken more wins than I did. Honorable mentions. Ravenous Rabble is a great card, and I always love it. Getting to pull a red Ravenous Rabble just feels good. And Springload as a generic, this card was really above rate in some ways, in that it felt good if you could figure out how to make your hand work. And I'll tell you, pay a blue to hit off a Spider's Bite into one of these zero cost stealth cards, possibly using a third card if you had it in hand, although probably not. Like, the Plunge would work because it has a go again. Using that last remaining resource off of the blue into a Springload, coming in for 5 at the end of the chain felt really threatening. It felt like a consequential amount of damage that they had to deal with. I think my most advantageous turns were usually something in the range of that combo. Spider's Bite to a stealth card if I had a go again, play the go again into a Springload for the last card. That was fantastic. It's probably the best line that I ended up using last night. But like you can see, I didn't have much that was consequential past the 3 Springloads. The 2 reds are coming in for 5 if they're at the end, and the yellow for 4. So certainly not unblockable, which of course is why at the end of the day I didn't do great. Alright, it is Sunday afternoon of the Outsiders pre-release weekend. I have finished my second pre-release of the weekend, and I'm about to go into the third here in another 2 hours or so. I thought I'd do a quick recap of how the second one went. And in short, it can be summed up with really one word: poorly. But I had a great time. So let's talk about what cards were pulled and how it went. Okay, this is the card pull that I got for pre-release number 2. This isn't everything. This is really just what was viable in the Ninja. I did not get a good Ranger pull. Again, I only got like, I don't know, 3 red arrows. I had a lot of other arrows, but the red arrows were really lacking. There weren't enough pumps to make it worth it to try and push it. Again, I only had 1 trap. It just isn't worth it at that point. Maybe could have done an assassin, but I thought that the ninja pool was just better, and specifically for a couple of reasons. This line here, meaning that I had I had Be Like Water and Surging Strike. Be Like Water effectively giving you a second Surging Strike if you needed it. 3 Descendant Gust Waves with 2 of them being red, 2 red Bonds of Ancestry, and then the Dishonor. That's the whole Surging Strike line. And with a Mask of Many Faces, which I also pulled, you could turn the Descendant Gust Wave into a Descendant Gust Wave and a Surging Strike. That meant that I could really get out that whole line and threaten the Dishonor, which I actually did 3 times during the weekend. Or during the event, which was pretty good. The only problem was that I would get that off probably in the early game, and it was too early to be effective. You broadcast quite plainly that this is what you're trying to get off, right? There's no way to hide it. It's like Descendant into Bonds of Ancestry. They're like, I think I'll eat that damage and then just block out the Dishonor, which is exactly what happens. While I got it off, and that in itself was really exciting and fun. It wasn't actually that impactful in any of the games because it was too early. If I had to do it again, I would probably take away that I had to wait till later game to try and do this. I would try and pitch stack it a bit better to get those cards at the end rather than right up front. That's on me. I don't play Benji or Katsu hardly at all, if ever. I think I've played Benji like once, maybe a year ago. Katsu was probably a little bit longer ago than that. I've played Fi, but Fi plays very differently than this. It was a learning experience. I did get a great time sitting down with Will Bradshaw at one point and walking through some of the lines. I played him second round, and we had a great game that was very short. He just tore me down quickly, and then we played another game where we basically almost played it open-handed and walked through a lot of the lines. It was really helpful. Things that were pretty powerful or that I enjoyed, definitely the Surging Strike line was great. Plunge and Spring Load also felt lovely in this. I gotta say, I really like Spring Load in this format. It's a great finisher. You can often pull it off, although I did get stuck with it in my arsenal 1 round longer than I wanted in the middle of one of my games. I played a lot of these 0 cost cards over here, so all the brush offs, the feisty locals, which I actually liked in this. Scout the Periphery, Seek Horizon, Ravenous, and Infectious Host. I didn't enjoy playing the Infectious Host, but it's a 0 cost 2, which meant that it would turn on daggers, and I could often use it for resources. So for those sorts of things, I played a lot of the 0 cost just because I knew that I needed them for the Kodachis. Deadly Duo, 1-2 Punch, those were okay. They didn't go crazy, but they were good. I only had the 1 recoil, but it seems pretty solid. I only had the 1 head jab. Bleed Out got played a couple of times throughout the weekend. Overall, it was fun, right? I think if I were better on Ninja, I think if I had a little more practice with it, Perpetual Tale of Woe, if I had more reps in the game, period, I probably would have done better, right? Because a lot of the time, my issue is that as a truly casual player, I just don't get to play very often. And so when I do get these days where I get to play quite a bit, I start realizing just how many things I miss. And that's just sort of par for the course. It's kind of the nature of being the casual player like that, where you're just going to realize, oh, I missed that. Mildly disappointing to me, but it is kind of what it is. But regardless, I had a great time. We had another full 32 at Peach State Games in, I think they're in Woodstock, Georgia, but yeah, the Atlanta metro. And then today's is going to be at Showcase Games a little bit further north, about an hour north of me. Either way, I'm really looking forward to it. I think they're also going to have a 32. I'm going to have to bow out early today, but I will report back and we will see what I got for that one. All right, so I wanted to bring my final reaction after all three of the pre-releases of this weekend. I was going to do a breakdown of my last deck, but it really wasn't anything to write home about. I ended up forcing Azalea because I had to have a chance to play this card. And so I just decided I was going to take Azalea no matter what. I did end up with a decent deck for it. I had a couple of traps, I had a couple of buffs, and I had some decent arrows. I was a little trepidatious because I think one of the better arrows I had were a couple of red Widowmakers. And I'm not terribly impressed with the Widowmaker. You know, red Widowmaker just says, well, it says defense reacts can't be played to it, which is awesome. Especially in this against the other Rangers. And against Assassin, actually. And if it's defended by fewer than 2 cards, it has +3. Well, that's easy to get around because equipment counts as one of those cards. So it's actually pretty simple to get 2 cards in front of it and stop it. Which the first time I played it, my opponent would do that, right? They would throw out an equipment. But then once the equipment was gone, I finished off at least one game by tossing that Dominate Widowmaker with a buff in, and they had no recourse. They couldn't put enough in front of it to stop it. And the +3 when it's not defended by something was just enough that the card finished out the game. So it actually felt better than what it felt like to play Assassin or Ninja for me the other days. And part of that could just be that I love Rangers, so I was back in my wheelhouse playing what I want to play. But that's neither here or there. I had a good time. Had a great time, actually. Super fun playing that. That was up at Showcase in Carrollton, Georgia. Lovely little shop that I have been going to for a long time. They are one of the original shops that were supporting Flesh and Blood when it released here in Atlanta. And so they've just been around forever, and can't recommend them enough. On the plus side, I did also pull, I didn't have a winning record, by the way. I did also pull this cold foil Orbitoclast, which I'm super, super excited about. Kind of see, I'm going to pull it out of the, can kind of see the foiling on that just a little bit. It's a beautiful card, really gorgeous. That's the only cold foil sort of gambler card that I pulled this weekend. The rest of it was a lot of commons, rares. Not enough to get a full set of anything, really. I still need 1s and 2s of stuff. I went to 3 pre-releases, though. I got, almost a full box that way. I'm really looking forward to the release next week. Can't wait, actually. Might have to run to one of the stores near me and pick up one before my box arrives in the mail. Overall, I think this is going to be a really exciting set. I think that Draft and Limited are going to be super fun. Limited to me is already just a great time, and I look forward to playing some more of it. I think the draft is also going to be fun, although I haven't played it at this point. I look forward to it. I'm also really looking forward to putting together my Azalea CC deck with all the new cards. I think she's going to be fantastic. And I'm going to have to play around with Blitz to figure out what my new go-to is for Blitz. My go-to previously has always been Kasai, and I still love Kasai. That's a lot of fun. But I had a really good time this weekend playing with the ninjas in particular, and I honestly think there's a lot of fun to be had in Uzuri. I don't know how well it'll go, but I might give it a shot. I might have to play around with some of that. So overall, this set feels great, and I think it's going to have a really positive impact. I'll try and put up something more about it and my thoughts overall on it a bit later. But that was my pre-release weekend. I hope you had a good time at your pre-release weekend. I hope you went to a couple stores, maybe tried someplace new, and enjoyed your time with the community. Have a good day.